In 2019, Marvel's ambitious Infinity Saga came to a climactic conclusion, wrapping up 11 years and 23 films worth of action, adventure, and modern-day myth-making. Now, more than a year later, we find ourselves looking to the future to see what's next for the entertainment juggernaut. What does the future hold for the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, so remember when we were recording this podcast that our wonderful listeners are about to listen to? And I said as soon as we got done recording, in the time between us recording and the episode coming out, there would probably be updated news, and what we are telling would probably be outdated.
You know, I remember like it was yesterday night when we were recording.
Yeah, funny that, because it was. Less than 24 hours later, we have a bunch of dates that have been pushed back by Disney, obviously because of COVID-19. And I think, we just wanted to bring this up to everybody so everyone knows we are every bit the professionals we hope we sound like we are.
And with that being said, I'd like to introduce a new segment of our show. Hi, everybody. My name is Zach Strackman. Welcome to News or Screen. And I'm here with my co-host.
Kitchen Christophers.
Yes, Christophers. How's the news over there?
Well, let me tell you. Spoilers, I guess. This podcast is going to be talking about the future of the MCU, and we figured we might as well address some of this new news that's just coming out via Disney. All their 2020 and 2021 movies have been delayed. Looks like Black Widow, which was originally supposed to be coming out November 6th of this year, has been pushed back to May 7th of 2021. So
Egad.
It's a pretty sizable delay. I think, what did we say? It was originally supposed to be coming out May of this year, and so
right.
it basically got pushed back a year. The Eternals and Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings also both got pushed back, but interestingly enough, they basically swapped places in the order of the movies, whereas Eternals was supposed to come out in February, Shang-Chi was supposed to come out in May. Now, Eternals is coming out in November, and Shang-Chi has been pushed to June. So it's interesting they've actually changed the order of their releases.
Wow, Zach. What an incredible news. I mean, Kitchens Chris, whatever your name is. I would like to say, in all seriousness, is that now that we have this information, please enjoy the podcast, because we are still just as excited for all the things we did talk about, even with these dates moved.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's also an interesting bit to add is that this will be the first year since 2009 that the MCU has not released a movie in a year, right?
Yeah,
2008 was what, Hulk and the original Iron Man.
Yep.
2009 there was nothing, and then 2010 we had Iron Man 2, and I believe Thor.
Maybe, but yeah. So it has been a while. Obviously, under normal circumstances, we would have gotten plenty of Marvel entertainment in the movie theaters, but now, with the pandemic, things have changed, and
and Disney's trying to rake in those dollar bills.
That's what it is. And barring, I don't think we're gonna come back with an update to our update if some more information comes out tomorrow. So for realsies now, if more information comes out between us recording this and when it will eventually come out, that's just a product of how we have set up our release schedule. Ooh, hey, I would like to point out that it looks like Death on the Nile, which was originally supposed to come out in about a month on October 23rd, has now been moved to my birthday, December 18th, 2020.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, counts the millionth time Zach has mentioned his birthday on this show. Thank you for enjoying the podcast.
Yeah, and with that said, enjoy the podcast. Like, follow, share. Enjoy. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of Script or Screen. I am your co-host, Zach Strackman. Joined with me, as always, is your other co-host,
Christopher J. Arthur Kitchen Vasquez, the 15th of Yorkshire.
Fantastic. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. I like how you said you were going to do the intro off the cuff. You didn't need anything, and, you just did it exactly how I thought you were going to.
Hooray.
I know. It kind of worked out in its own way. How are you?
Oh, can't complain.
Yeah? COVID treating you well?
I could complain, but I'm not going to.
No, please. This is your time. This is venting hour. Venting
Fine.
hour in 30 minutes.
Fine. I'm going to complain. I'm going to complain about people not wearing their masks. Wear your masks, people.
Well, like, where are they, or wear them on their faces?
No, put your mask on. Well, and wear it over your nose. If you don't wear it over your nose, it doesn't do anything.
You want to hear something funny?
Yes.
Is that, so my girlfriend is doing like online classes for grad school. And so one of her professors, he doesn't use his house to record himself on Zoom and all these classroom experiences. Instead, he goes to like an office within his community. And someone barged in his office and said, "Excuse me, you need to wear a mask while you're in here." It wasn't anybody that worked there, it was just a resident. He's like, "Okay, by the way, I'm teaching in front of like 100 students. You're disrupting my class." And then I guess 20 minutes later, she leaves and she comes back and gets someone from the community like, "Yeah, sir, I'm sorry. I know you're busy in here. You have to wear a mask." He's like, "Fine." He takes his mask and he puts it over his nose so that his students can still hear him talk. The poor guy is looking like a fool in front of his 100-odd students, talking, mask over nose, his face just, open. Oh, God. Anissa said she felt so bad for him.
Hey, it's the world we live in now.
I know.
But contrary to this whole thing we've started with, today's podcast is actually not about COVID-19 and wearing your mask. It's about the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You know what's funny is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe ended with kind of like a time jump past the year of like 2020, right? They're like in 2023 or 24 or something.
They're pretty far up there.
I wonder if we could learn something from like how they dealt with it in the midst of the blip, as it's known.
Yeah, the snap.
Yeah, if you will.
Well, maybe the people who got dusted were all the COVID deniers,
or I was going to say, or the COVID victims even. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, maybe I actually don't have an answer to that. But what question I do have an answer for?
What is that?
The question we posed earlier in the cold open, which is, what does the future hold for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because we actually know, because nowadays there are no secrets in the industry, and
I don't...
we know the roadmap for a while. This is actually kind of funny, because it presented a funny problem when we got to Endgame, in that, and I want to say it was probably something, an issue that cropped up before that with some of their earlier movies, but with Endgame, they had to advertise for Spider-Man Far From Home months out. So
I remember we had talked a lot about that. I was like, wait, Spider-Man Far From Home is said to come out a little after Endgame, and we haven't seen a trailer like yet. I think they released it maybe like a couple weeks ahead or something like that. Or I thought that's what they were going to do, but there was a teaser like in December or something.
Yeah, I think, obviously, even if there wasn't a trailer, we knew it was in production, and it's one of those things where you say, I mean, obviously, at the end of Endgame, they were going to win, because it's a superhero movie, and, you can't have the heroes lose 2 movies in a row. That's just absurd.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say, you can't have the heroes lose, and I said, I beg to differ. There's a movie where that happens.
You can't beat us twice. But when we're looking ahead and we see they have, before they would announce their phases and like the movies they had planned, and it was kind of quaint looking back on it when it was like, ooh, here's phase 2 and it's gonna be 7 movies or whatever, and now looking at phase 4, there are so many titles.
Yeah, and really mixed too, between not just films but like television as well, and just kind of like all the different mediums that they're trying to fill in, with all the...
Yeah, and there are even there's a whole swath of movies that haven't even like gone into production yet, that are not even part of phase 4 as it's being called, that have already been cast and already have plot points being talked about, and it's these are movies that may not even come into play for another 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But I think with a funny side effect of this whole COVID pandemic, I feel, is that we have been given a nice little break from just being constantly inundated with these movies.
Right.
Because Black Widow, when was Black Widow supposed to?
I believe it was supposed to come out May of this year, of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. May or April, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean yesterday? Jeez.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Well, it feels like this whole year's just gone by. Like,
oh yeah.
Yes, originally scheduled to be released May 1st, 2020. And now we don't even know when it's going to come out. I still say, why not release it on VOD at this point?
Wait, did they not decide to keep it for November, or it's been postponed since then?
Honestly, I haven't kept up. I guess currently slated for November 6th. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting. Disney Plus finally did a premiere access release with the release of Mulan, right? Where they did a VOD distribution. It was like a $30 fee. And funny enough, they also announced they were releasing it to the general public, or people that had subscriptions to Disney Plus, like regular subscriptions, I believe in December. What's that, like 3-4 months after?
Right.
So I know why they won't do it for this movie necessarily. They haven't made that announcement just yet. And I'm almost 100% positive it has something to do with that $150 to $200 million budget that this film has kind of accumulated with all that time. It's not that I'm not even sure actually how much money they've made off of the Premier Access subscription release in terms of for Mulan. But because I don't
actually,
I don't think that
I did see something earlier about the money they've made, or maybe not specifically a number, but that Disney said they were very pleased.
Okay.
With the results of it.
Okay. Well, it says here that in theaters, at least, it's grossed $58 million worldwide, but I believe that's solely in the box office and not through the subscription services, or I guess service, since it's just one. But I get that, right? I think that's one of the reasons why movies like Tenet haven't been released on like VOD, and I know they already took a little bit of a hit when they had to release Onward, because I know it was slated to come out in theaters alone, and then all this happened. We got the the Disney Plus, just like general streaming. If you already have an account, then you can stream the movie as well. So Disney can afford to lose a certain amount of money, I'm sure, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
But I don't think in their long-term plans that's something they want to keep doing, right?
I can't imagine they would.
Yeah, but Black Widow will be our first return back to the MCU whenever it comes out, and however we decide to view it.
Yeah, and again, it's our first time back, but it's interestingly enough a step back, not in terms of quality or anything, but in terms of chronology. It is set, I think, right after the events of Civil War.
Just like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, kind of. So it'll be interesting to see if and how it ties into current MCU events.
So this was an interesting tidbit I wanted to bring out, because this film actually has pretty cool looking cast, right? Stars Rachel Weisz, Scarlett Johansson, our boy from Stranger Things,
David Harbour, yeah.
David Harbour, Florence Pugh even. And there was an article that came out a while ago that talked about, or I guess Kevin Feige and Scarlett Johansson were saying that they were super excited about this film, and this is something that they've been wanting to do for a long time. And then Scarlett Johansson kind of goes ahead and says, like, yeah, it's kind of great that I almost feel like I'm passing the baton to Florence Pugh, and kind of so she can pave the way for more female storylines. Or the exact quote is, "It's going to propel another female storyline," And it kind of gets you thinking, like, she's a kind of. It's not that she's an up and coming actress. Like, she's been coming for like the last couple of years with. I think she did that film Fighting with My Family, right? That was the wrestling film.
I believe so, yeah.
Midsommar's success, and then most recently with Little Women, and then she got the Academy nomination for that film. I wouldn't be.
She's a fantastic actress.
I think so. She's
a fantastic actor, I should say,
because the term actress is nonsensical, according to the young girl in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
According to common sense.
There you go.
Yeah. That'll score me some brownie points, right? Oh, no. That's not funny.
But, it is kind of exciting to see kind of if that is the case, right? Though this is, I don't want to say conjecture. This article does come from IndieWire. But it's just, if she were to take on the role of like Black Widow or like kind of the agent in terms of the team, like what could that look like for the future of the MCU to kind of have that hole filled, right? I feel like I'm very open to it. The movie looks pretty great from the trailers. I don't think Marvel has given us a bad product in terms of film and quality, like as of yet.
I think the worst it ever got was Thor: The Dark World, which it's still pretty enjoyable, even if it doesn't like live up to, I think, the highs that some of the other movies get to.
I mean, critically, people didn't even talk that bad about The Dark World.
Yeah.
I feel like even it's funny because you've talked to me about your I don't want to say disdain for that film, but
I don't hate it, but it's like, it's just in a sea of excellence, it's just kind of fine.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
It has moments that are great. And I think it was one of the first times. Yeah, that's, it's the second movie out of phase 2. And I remember it started with the very end. So the end post-credit scene in Iron Man 3 is that Tony Stark's been talking to Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner.
Right.
And it was fun because it's like, oh, we're getting a little bit of crossover here with some of the actors. And then Chris Evans appeared in Thor: The Dark World in one little quick cameo. And that was really fun. And it was, there's stuff like that. I feel like Thor: The Dark World was like the last kind of moment of Marvel figuring itself out. And then if you look at the rest of their movies, they're all kind of just, hit after hit after hit.
Well, I mean, when you look at it too, right? Like after The Dark World, they realized they had to kind of reinvent the character of Thor.
Yeah.
And so, which is why we kind of get like the Taika Waititi's, Thor Ragnarok, and then we get it continued into Avengers as well in a way.
Yeah, he definitely becomes more like Flash Gordon, kind of like a almost like a lovable doofus, but yeah, he's great. And Taika Waititi, I can't imagine anyone else now
kind of doing Thor in that style, in that way, or like anybody else who could head the project and kind of get the same results as he did. Because he has such a nice style too. Like when you think about
absolutely.
His writing's pretty great.
If you had told me back in 2013 when Thor: The Dark World came out that
it only gets better.
Well, yes, that, and also that the next Thor movie would be this like 80s synth electronica fueled like road trip movie, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? But now it's like, oh, it fits so well.
Right.
And then it feels like they're really carrying that over with the next one, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, so yeah, I have every confidence that Black Widow is going to be fantastic. I am really interested to see everything with Taskmaster because he's been kind of, I feel like, popping up a lot. He was in the Spider-Man PS4 game. He was just in this new Marvel's Avengers game that came out. So like, I feel like for people who are into that kind of stuff, this will be like the third like major appearance he's been in a very short time.
So it'll be very interesting. I wonder how different the adaptation will be.
I don't think it's going to be too different. I mean, I like that you see in the trailers, you see he's like got like, you know, he has like Black Panther claws and a Captain America shield and stuff.
And a Hawkeye bow.
But yeah, no, it looks really cool, and I'm excited to see it. And then also coming out this year, we're gonna want to switch over because also in 2020, we are getting WandaVision.
Oh, and the new trailer just kind of released too, with I guess with the premiere of this year's Emmys, the 72nd Emmy Awards is when it dropped.
Yeah. Now, for listeners, we're recording this on September 22nd. And it'll probably come out in a few weeks following. So if something, you know, if a trailer comes out in the next couple of weeks that we don't talk about here, that's why. But yeah, WandaVision trailer, it just dropped. It looks pretty fantastic, I gotta say.
What are your thoughts on the WandaVision trailer? I have like a specific thought it triggered, rather. You know, at least like in terms of how it places, and more so than it just kind of being like sitcom. I don't want to say sitcom, but just like kind of serial. There was one line that was delivered during the trailer that made me think like, oh wow, this might actually have like an overarching effect towards like, you know, its relationship with the films and everything.
Okay.
So this line was kind of when you see Vision out in the streets.
You're talking when he goes up to Catherine Hahn's character?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And she says, like, oh, it's because you're dead. Or something like that. That kind of line sets in. I'm like, ooh, like this.
That line hits pretty hard. So I definitely think this show, and I think they've said it, but I've always had a feeling since they announced this, that this was going to be a big, like, kind of like a status quo shakeup for the MCU. And when I think back to like the end of the Infinity Saga, mainly in Endgame, the last time we see Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, Elizabeth Olsen doing anything is when she has that very memeable moment with Thanos where she's like, "You took everything from me," and he's like, "I don't know who you are." And she almost kills him, and then I feel like by the end of it, the bulk of the dramatic weight is all on spoilers, the death of Tony Stark. And yeah, we're talking full spoilers for I guess all 23 films that preceded. We're
not going to go into every film, but it's just in general sense.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, hopefully you have seen the last 23 films or 11, 10 years, however long it's been, and
yeah,
and you know you're up to date.
But I can't imagine because so she got snapped, she got dusted, and right before that she saw Vision killed by her, brought back by Thanos, and then killed by Thanos. And then she's brought back to life in Endgame, and then they have the big battle, and it's over. And I want to say there's maybe a scene at the very end where they show like Hawkeye consoling her or something. But I gotta imagine she's still probably in a really rough place mentally. And so what I feel like this show is going to be is her coming to grips with the reality that Vision is gone, and maybe trying to escape that harsh reality by creating this idealistic fantasy world, kind of Pleasantville style 50s sitcom with her and Vision.
Right.
And my big theory, and you'll quote me here now, let me know if I'm right or wrong when the show comes out, is that while all this is going on, that's all happening in her head, and in the real world, her powers are House of Emming the world to hell. Which, you know, if you don't know comics, House of M is this massive event in the Marvel Comics where Scarlet Witch basically creates a new reality to deal with her problems, and I see this as going to be that big, you know, jumping off point. I think this is how we're eventually going to get mutants into the series. I think this is how we're going to get a lot of those Fox properties in.
Do you want to kind of jump to that for a bit? Because I have a couple ideas or theories, or just things that it's just they've been egging on at me. You know, they've been tapping onto me.
I did want to touch on one last thing, though, in that about WandaVision, is that they've already said it's going to tie directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is it's slated for 2022 and being directed by Sam Raimi, which is super awesome. But I almost feel, because they've said that Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda is going to be a supporting character in that movie, and I do wonder if in WandaVision, she's going to screw everything up, not intentionally, and when we get to Doctor Strange, it's going to be about them teaming up to undo or make sense of this insanity that has cropped up because of her powers.
Okay. So this is kind of, I guess, interesting, because you don't really get to see at all like these two characters have a dynamic. Like, they didn't have a dynamic in Infinity War or in Endgame, right?
I don't think they don't meet in Infinity War, and then in Endgame
they were just in the same place, but they never had any type of interaction. So it's like, what does that look like now? It's kind of in the same way that, like, the very end of Endgame, right? Spider-Man's on the field and he has the gauntlet, and he passes it off to Captain Marvel, and he's like, hey, and then, Brie Larson's character responds to him like, hey, Peter Parker. And then later in the next movie, it's like, what about Captain Marvel, right? Like, don't use her name. It's just almost weird. Like, did they have an interaction? Did they have, like, did he really meet anybody? Like,
they probably chatted over, like,
over the funeral.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm sure there were a few conversations, but
yeah, it's not that I needed those questions answered or anything, but I mean, like,
I just can't wait till we get to Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, when they're like, "Oh, you do weird, nonsense magic with your hands. I do weird nonsense magic with my hands." So
you mentioned earlier the film is now actually being directed by Sam Raimi.
Oh my god, I can't wait!
Instead of the man who gave us the first
Scott
Derrickson, who gave us the first iteration of his character.
Right.
Now everybody's super excited about Sam Raimi because of his involvement with Spider-Man properties in the past, and he had already like a good working relationship with Kevin Feige from those films, and now he's being brought onto this. I don't know, like, it's not that I don't feel like I like it. Like, I like it, I really do. Especially now because the Marvel Universe is so, like, they're very thorough, with everything, and it's not like a Sony movie, it's not like a Fox movie or anything like that. It's just it's really, everything's kind of layered on, and they really kind of go into these ideas. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like outside of the Spider-Man properties, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of Sam Raimi. Like,
oh my god, no, I definitely am.
With like the Evil Dead property, like I never got into those films.
Oh my god, well, you heard it here first, people. We will be covering Evil Dead at some point in the future because I love the Evil Dead movies. Drag Me to Hell is such a fun movie. I'm all for Raimi, even if it's just the Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man movie. So I'm super excited for Raimi to be helming Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There's, of course, the great line in Spider-Man 2 where J. Jonah Jameson and his assistant are trying to come up with names with Doc Ock, and this is before there was ever an MCU, and his assistant says,
Doctor Strange.
Oh, how about Doctor Strange? And he's like, it's pretty good, but it's taken.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, please, can we just get a scene of in the new Doctor Strange movie of as they're hopping through the multiverse, as the title would suggest.
Yeah.
We get Raimi era J. Jonah Jameson crossing paths with him.
That honestly, that would be pretty great. Well, now, why am I blanking on these actors' names? Excuse me.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is in the MCU, right?
Right. That's.
You know what sucks is the week that Far From Home came out, you and I were very into like kind of keeping spoilers between each other. And then we saw the red carpet photo of J.K. Simmons at the premiere. We're like, oh, I'm pretty sure we know what this means. And
it was a great place for him to turn up. But it's just a really it's a really cool idea. I think it opens the door, like I said, to a lot of the things that we haven't seen in the MCU yet. Your X-Men's, your Fantastic Fours. The like I said, the door is wide open.
Wouldn't it be interesting if like the team at Marvel, right? If Kevin Feige knocked on Chris Evans' doors, we're like, listen, we have a brand new role for you. Really want to. I hope you love it. Johnny Storm. He's this great character. He goes flame on, and he sets himself ablaze. That I remember there was an interview,
and then Chris Evans says, "What are you doing in my kitchen?"
There was an interview that Chris Evans was a part of. I think it was during some sort of con where a fan asks like, "Oh, if there were any other member of the MCU besides Captain America you'd want to hang out with, like who would it be?" He's like, "I don't know, that Johnny Storm guy. He's a pretty handsome guy." I just couldn't help but think like, you sly dog. Like
that's funny. But looking back on the schedule, what I'm seeing is I think, because I don't know when, but I think, in like February of 21, again, we'll see a lot of these recent coming up movies are up in the air as far as when they'll release.
Mm-hmm.
But in February, we're getting Eternals. It used to be The Eternals. Now it's just Eternals.
Did they already finish shooting the Eternals? Oh, they did.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's Eternals now because they were talking with Justin Timberlake and he said get rid of the.
Oh.
I like it.
Oh man,
that's a Social Network joke.
Yeah, a great movie right there.
Honestly, I don't know what to expect from Eternals. It's kind of this. I read a lot of comics, but I don't know all this real deep stuff. All I know is Kumail Nanjiani got jacked for this.
Yeah, he looks super good, incredibly handsome, and it's just I really like him too. I don't know if you've ever seen his stand-up or watched.
Oh, for sure.
Did you watch his film The Big Sick?
I haven't seen The Big Sick, but I saw his movie, The Lovebirds with him and Issa Rae.
Which one was that one?
And it's the one with him and Issa Rae where they get caught up in a
it's when they're in like the back seat of like an Uber or something like that. Okay, yeah, I remember that.
That was funny. And then like anytime he shows up on anything, I'm always like, oh yes, this is gonna be amazing because he's a really funny dude.
He was also in a show, right? Silicon Valley, or no? Am I
Silicon Valley? Yep.
Yeah.
He played Dinesh in Silicon Valley, another fantastic show. But yeah, he is, I think, comedy genius.
Yeah.
His delivery is, I would say, impeccable.
I would agree. Like, and not to mention the fact that he can also show us that, I could also look great. And I guess I'm superhero material because I guess that's a part of it, right? Is that that's
the Marvel system. You take a funny guy and you make him fit, and then you got the best of both worlds. That's what they did for Chris Pratt.
I was gonna say, and then they turned Chris Pratt into a leading man. And
then they kind of did it with Paul Rudd. They gave him abs and stuff. So if there's a way to
if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. But so yeah, I don't really know much to say on Eternals. I'm excited for it because it's Marvel. I think they took, they showed what happens when they take risks.
I'll put it this way. I'm as familiar with the Eternals as a property as I am with Inhumans, and that's very little to no information,
Well,
and
hopefully it doesn't become like Inhumans, because Inhumans was
I didn't even get to watch Inhumans. I refused to watch.
It was not good.
What did it get, like a 0 across all ratings on its like initial release?
It got a big frown and a thumbs down from me.
Oh, well, there you go. But
yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, there's a lot more to look forward to, I feel like, with Inhumans. If anything, I'm more excited for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Oh my god, yes. Because Shang-Chi is going to be rad.
I feel like, we'll finally get to explore the real Mandarin, or the return, if you will. And
yeah, so, I like Iron Man 3. I know that's a very divisive movie. I liked what they did.
I don't hate it.
Well, here's the thing. Whenever I hear people complaining about what they did with the Mandarin in that movie, and they go, "Oh man, but Ben Kingsley was going to be the Mandarin, and then he wasn't the Mandarin." Spoilers, by the way.
Hey, here's the thing.
I wanted that. I said, "Well, what did you want? A kind of antiquated Asian stereotype of a bad guy? Because that's not necessarily a good thing."
Here's the thing, is that they actually got to shoot a lot of the real exteriors of the scenes that were shot in Miami, like down here, and I know a lot of the guys that were working on the crew there. So I got to support the work of the brothers over there, the brothers and sisters in the production.
I liked Iron Man 3 because I like Shane Black's movies, but going into Shang-Chi, it almost, I'm okay with them bringing back the Mandarin, because I believe in some more modern retellings of Shang-Chi's story, they've made him the son of the Mandarin. Mm-hmm. So,
I wonder what the deal with the Ten Rings will be, though, because I believe in Iron Man 1, they established them as like a terrorist organization that was later brought up and it was a little more based in the Middle East, too.
It will be interesting to see how it ties in together. And it's funny that, like, even as we move into Phase 4, we're still seeing, like, the footprint of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
In all of these movies. But, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi is really awesome. And I love that we're getting more diversity in the cast, in the directors. Mm-hmm. I think with this phase, we have, like, if you just go down the line of the films, you have Kate Shortland. You have Chloe Zhao for Eternals. You have Destin Daniel Cretton for Shang-Chi. And it's great. We're getting a lot of diversity in there.
You have Taika Waititi returning as well.
Taika Waititi, yep. Who's everyone's favorite Maori Jew.
There you go.
But yeah, and then after Shang-Chi, I think we...
I think we pretty much covered most of the movies outside of the third iteration of Spider-Man, which I kind of want to get to.
Oh, Spider-Man 3, whatever it's going to be called. You mean coming out the day before my birthday next year?
Another birthday reference.
It's going to happen every time, I swear.
You know what's actually interesting about this birthday, though, or about that one, is that you'll already be 30, so that you'll have
don't remind me of that.
Is that you'll already have that extra, like, oh, you're in the 3s, the Spider-Man's finally getting into the 3s.
Sure, I'm sure that'll make it feel much better. Excuse me a minute.
But so I guess, kind of getting into that year, or that, I guess, we kind of get into all these other projects, everything. You have to worry about with Spider-Man coming out is not only do they have Sony's kind of in control, sort of. I forget where we kind of landed after there was the whole, divorce argument between Disney and Sony about, Spider-Man leaving the MCU or bringing back, getting himself back in.
Tom Holland saved the day. Yeah, that's a touchy subject. I know.
I don't know if you watched those Hollywood Reporter roundtable videos that they post on YouTube, but mm-hmm. I believe Alan Horn of Disney, I believe he's of Disney, right? And the executive from Sony actually talked about, that interaction that they had in Tom Holland's role, and to just kind of coming together and making sure I'm sure they were being a little deliberate with their word choice and everything, but they sounded like they were in agreement. They were glad to be working together, and there was never like that much of an issue. But, they have all these other projects that they want to do. Like, they want to continue the Venom franchise, and then they want to introduce Morbius. And in the trailer for Morbius, which we all forget what the trailer looks like, it even features Michael Keaton, So
yeah,
for those who don't know, Michael Keaton played the Vulture in the first Spider-Man of this.
Spoilers.
Version. Yeah, spoilers.
But so here's the thing about that. I'm not thrilled with the implications that this makes, because I know Venom, the Tom Hardy Venom movie, was financially a hit. But as far as I'm concerned, I know it's just my opinion, it was bad.
Okay.
And I definitely didn't want to see more of this iteration of Venom. I think Venom is about as interesting as he relates to Spider-Man. When it gets to himself, I don't really care.
Okay.
But again, that's just me. I know there's a completely valid and hungry audience out there who want to see Venom do his thing, and to that I say, bone apple teeth.
Cool, dude.
Yeah, but like the movie ended with that really just obnoxious thing with Woody Harrelson.
I was going to say the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is well over. It's 81%.
Audience score, I have learned, means nothing. It's just because people like a movie. You're right.
You haven't seen audience scores for a lot of movies. Then
I am throwing around my opinion like it's fact, and I shouldn't. But the fact is, I do consider that movie poorly made, and I thought that the post credit with Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy was forced and kind of ridiculous. And he has that stupid line where he's like, "When they let me out of here, there's gonna be carnage," as if they couldn't be
more
anymore. It was really bad. But and then the next movie, I think it's scheduled for middle, summer of 2021, is Venom : Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
Which A, the title sucks. B, again, as much as Venom is only as interesting as he relates to Spider-Man, Carnage is exactly the same way. Like, the whole... I like Carnage and I like Venom in the comics, but I think peak Venom and Carnage was Carnage's first appearance, where he forced Venom and Spider-Man to settle their differences and work together. And if you take away that alliance and that relationship that they've built up over several dozens of comics and chapters to build up their animosity, I feel like you lose something with a Carnage story, because before Carnage you had Venom attacking Spider-Man, and Spider-Man defeats Venom, and then he escapes and they fight, and then Spider-Man fakes his death, and then has to fight Carnage on his own and loses, and there's this whole swath of really fascinating stuff you can do, and you lose that when you take out Spider-Man.
I really miss the Topher Grace version of Venom, because it was that one scene that I really enjoyed as a child, where he went into the church saying, "Please kill Spider-Man." That really meant this character had a lot of depth. He'd go and pray to God to kill his enemy. Oh my God.
Listen, I feel like no one's done Venom well.
That's not true. Are you familiar with the Spider-Man animated series that were appearing on the channels?
Okay, fine. Excuse me. No one has done live action Venom well.
Okay, and that is
Yeah, because I think even they've said Sam Raimi never wanted to do Venom in Spider-Man 3, and he was kind of forced to do it by the executives.
Sam Raimi finished telling his Spider-Man story at the end of Spider-Man 2. That, he did 1 and 2 where he had everything, it was perfect. And then 3, it's I got to do a third one? Okay.
Well, you can tell the stuff with Harry Osborn and the stuff with the Sandman were organic, and for better or worse, they were meant to be there, and Venom was just kind of shoehorned in. But anyway, this is actually contrary to what I have made it sound like. This is not the Venom cast. Morbius looks whatever. I don't feel like I want all these
villain movies.
Villain movies. I think they're kind of ridiculous. But if people want to see them, whatever.
Yeah, I would agree in a way. The only villain that I really liked, and it's thanks to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, was Doc Ock, right? And I feel like, even the iteration in the game, right, was pretty good. Oh my
god, yeah.
I haven't played much of the game versus seen a series of cutscenes regarding his character and his character's interpretation. And he, out of all the other Spider-Man villains, I just feel like has a lot of depth, right?
They do him really well in the game, and
I just think there's something a little more kind of humanizing about his struggle and just kind of what happens to him, and at least they've done a good job making him a little more relatable. Then again, Vulture in Spider-Man 1, again, another great human. My favorite villain that they've done so far, like the one I've been wishing for years, which we got in Far From Home.
Yeah.
Mysterio, dude. Like, that was fantastic. The way they tied him in the wake of Tony Stark's shadow, like, all that, I know that bothered some people a lot. I thought
it was great.
Yeah, I feel like, well, that's a good way to kind of tie it in and make it not so they have to, like, kind of make it come from nowhere. You want to tie it in with the rest of your properties and everything. That makes sense.
I love this ever-growing list of villains that Tony Stark has inadvertently created.
Yeah.
But I would just say, if we're talking the future of Marvel movies, as far as Sony is concerned, I know we're getting the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. That's exciting. I loved Into the Spider-Verse, and if they want to make more movies like that, I take my money. Those movies look great, and I think the next one's even going to have like 1970s Japanese Spider-Man, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the end of Spider-Verse that really had me interested, right? With the tease of the Spider-Man of the future, if you will.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2099 or whatever it is.
Yeah. He is like, dude.
Voiced by Oscar Isaacs.
That guy is probably the coolest looking one. I remember I had his t-shirt with him on it, like, growing up as a kid that I wore all the time. Like, he just had the coolest design.
I think there's that next Into the Spider-Verse 2 or whatever they're going to call it, it has the potential to be really awesome.
But
go ahead.
No, I kind of want to move into other territory.
Okay, let me just ask you real fast. For Spider-Man 3, whatever they end up calling it, I'm sure it'll say, Spider-Man 3 or something home, because they've been going with that home motif in all the titles. But what villain do you want to see in that movie?
Of all the villains,
of his whole rogues gallery,
J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh no! Well, you got him.
I mean, a live action version of her name is Black Cat, right?
Oh yeah. Felicia Hardy.
Yeah, that would be an interesting.
I could totally see that, especially because I'm assuming that, spoilers, at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, he's exposed to the public as Peter Parker. So I would say the fact that maybe he's going to be on the run for a lot of this movie, maybe that might give him a chance to meet Black Cat and have their paths cross and stuff.
Listen, if they're not going to do too many more with him in it, or whatever their plans are doing with him, I do want them to kind of tie in what they were in it. I know they've been wanting to do some Sinister Six crap for years, and in a way, I either want them to ditch that idea and stop teasing this idea that you're going to bring people together, and just to fight against Spider-Man or something, because there's just a whole bunch of. I feel like it requires a lot more work than what they're prepared to do if they only want to do one more movie with Spider-Man in the MCU.
Right. Well, I've always thought of the idea of doing Sinister Six, they would be their own movie, and it's kind of like, you get to see the bad guys take center stage, Because otherwise, how do you donate most of the runtime to Spider-Man, but also fit in 6 villains?
That's the thing, Otherwise, you kind of get like the Justice League approach, right? And
Oh, you mean the bad approach?
well, here's the thing.
Yeah, I said it.
I've remembered, I did like Justice League when it first came out, right? I liked it because I used to say I liked Batman vs Superman, and then I saw Justice League. I was like, no, I'll admit, Batman vs Superman was a bad movie. Justice League I liked way more than Batman vs Superman, even though I recognize Justice League has a lot more problems. Though I can live with it as the movie it is, and do not need any more of it. Want to make that perfectly clear.
We definitely don't need an overly pretentious director's cut with a bunch of toxic fans.
But like, at this point, just I feel like Disney would offer a substantial amount of money to Sony to pay for the rights of Spider-Man if Sony said, hey, we will sell him to you. Just give us a number. What do you think he's worth to you guys? And you know what? They can kind of reevaluate all that later. I just don't need any more of this stuff right now. I feel like I've had enough attempts with Spider-Man in the last 10, 15 years. And I know he's probably like one of the most popular superheroes, if not the most.
I would say, yeah. After Superman and Batman, I think he's...
Is it?
I think he's probably number 3.
I would say in the modern day, Zach, Superman doesn't even make the top 5 list. In modern times, Superman's more of like he's an idea, right? He's iconography, but like as far as property, I don't think people have really enjoyed a Superman movie or property or anything, excluding the comics and maybe any animated things.
No one's made a good movie since like, I don't know, the Richard Donner movies.
But that's the thing,
yeah, I think maybe after Spider-Man 3, we Spider-Man can take a break for a little while. But I totally get why they use him so much, because he's a very recognizable character. Tom Holland does a really good job as Peter Parker. And that being said, I want Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter would be an awesome bad guy. We haven't seen him yet, and he's
okay,
cool.
If I'm going to throw out a name, I'm going to throw out Hobgoblin, not Green Goblin, Hobgoblin. No explanation, just bring him out.
Sure. So going down 2021, we also have I say going down 2021 because that actually comes at the end of 2021. But we also get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, another Disney Plus series.
I mean, this one, though we haven't seen much in terms of like footage, though we've got like little tidbits and photos and things. I don't know if I have much to say on that necessarily, more than just like it looks cool. It looks great. I can't imagine it'll be anything that Winter Soldier in a way as a movie wasn't. Like it just the fact they're continuing those stories in series form. I'm excited. Well, Daniel Brühl's return as Zemo, also excited.
Exactly.
He's
I was going to say
one of my favorite actors.
One of the things I'm interested in seeing is how they've been saying this in the stuff like promotional stuff where they've talked about it, and you've seen it in production photos and set photos where I think the overall narrative of the series is going to be Falcon trying to prove he can be the next Captain America. And they've actually, you can see set photos of it, of Wyatt Russell playing U.S. agent, who is the United States government's choice to replace Captain America. And even like from the set photos, you can see his costume is like a spin
on like the Captain America's suit and everything.
Yeah, so it's like, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because, obviously in the comics, Sam Wilson becomes Captain America, and I'm sure that's what's going to happen with this, but it'll be fun to see how things play out. Also coming up in 2021, we have Loki. Don't know much about it. I think they showed like 2 seconds of it. But I think what they've been able to glean from that is that he is going to be traveling through time, as kind of referenced in the
I don't want to say
of his logo.
I don't want to say time, but maybe more so as not so much as through time, but through space. He has the power of the Space Stone.
He does have the power of the Space Stone, but they've already said he's going to be traveling through time. And you
can't win them all, Chris.
It's okay. And in the 2 seconds they've shown of him, he's wearing a prisoner's outfit for the Time Variance Authority,
Okay.
which is a police force. It's basically Time Police in the comics, and Owen Wilson has been cast in an unannounced role, but many people are thinking he's going to be one of the Time Variance Authority's
Wouldn't that be
officers.
interesting if they casted Owen Wilson and they also got to direct, or Wes Anderson was hired to direct an episode, being Owen Wilson's
Wow.
one of his oldest collaborators? Not going to happen, but
Not going to happen, but I would totally be down for it.
imagine the outrageousness to ensue.
And then, yeah, the last thing for 2021, as far as I can tell, is Marvel What If, which is going to be an animated series, I believe also on Disney Plus. And there was a comic of What Ifs that's been going on for forever, but it's going to be strictly, what if in the MCU. I think the first episode is going to be what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. But I don't think they've really announced too many of them. The one thing that has been coming out recently is that this will actually be the final appearance of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. And I believe from what they've shown, the what if T'Challa got picked up by Yondu and the Ravagers instead of Peter Quill.
So, that kind of, outside of the what if story and that performance, it puts us in a weird boat, right? Of the future of the MCU in regards to Black Panther and to the role of T'Challa that was played by him, which in a way you can't necessarily replace, right?
I would say it's very unlikely. Now, Black Panther 2, it's currently being worked on. I don't know if Ryan Coogler is coming back for it. I want to say he is, but I'm not sure. But
well, I mean, when I say like in terms of replace, I also want to clarify. I want to mean like, there's a certain legacy that's kind of left behind that you want to honor, and you wouldn't want to tarnish what was done by that character.
I don't know. Right. I don't know what the plan is, but if I was gonna bet on it, I would say they will leave T'Challa alone, and probably pass the mantle on to the character of Shuri, his sister. That would seem to make the most sense to me. I don't think they would even think about recasting him.
So what it would, I mean, I don't want to promote the idea of recasting him. I want to promote the idea of live and let live, right? Or just kind of like we recognize the importance of that character. Also in the importance of that movie, right? Like
absolutely.
It's so important for people to have that representation, and
it's a cultural milestone.
It was. I remember just kind of listening to certain people, talking like the year of the Academy Awards, why Black Panther was nominated for so many awards and everything. Though the same year, I think Infinity War was came out a couple months later, and it was only nominated for like a visual effects award or something. The usual.
Yeah, well, versus Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture.
Best Picture, but I mean, like, also had costume design. There was music in there. Just a lot of things, right? And I remember just having to go kind of with people and talk to them, or like whenever I hear someone say something like that, I'd be like, well, have you seen the costume design in Black Panther? Have you seen like just the production and just kind of everything? It's more than just what you think is needed in terms of like a movie, like, as much as I love Infinity War, it's probably one of my favorites, if not like top 3 favorite Marvel movies ever. There, like we all knew what was going to happen in Infinity War. It's not anything like incredibly transformative outside of Thanos' skin pixels, right? Like there's yeah, man, I don't know. It's the Chadwick Boseman. He was one of the greats.
I would say
he's one of the greats.
I would say absolutely. I think he's irreplaceable. I think Marvel isn't fooling themselves as far as whatever the future of that series is, I don't think they would ever think of replacing him, especially with this outpouring of his fans from every direction after he passed away. I don't think they would ever try to replace him. So I think the next best thing is,
I think they'll do right by him for sure.
Yeah, Wright, specifically Letitia Wright as Shuri.
Bingo.
As the next Black Panther. And on that note, I think that takes us, because like their roadmap is so far ahead. It's kind of like when back in 2015 when they cast The Rock as Black Adam, and they're like, and that movie will come out sometime.
Yeah.
So we get into 2022. You got Thor: Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi back as director. Natalie Portman's coming back as Jane Foster to do the female Thor story. Aside from that, I don't really know what else to say here. Maybe we'll get some Guardians of the Galaxy showing up in this one.
I think Chris Hemsworth came out recently in an article, and he was saying, I can't say much about the... he says...
Kidding.
He said that I can't say much about the script besides the fact that it's funny, and I'm enjoying reading it,
Great.
So that's all we can, hope for.
I only have one wish for that movie, and that's I want to see Beta Ray Bill. I've wanted to see Beta Ray Bill since the first Thor movie, and that's my big nerdy wish for that movie.
I hope you get it.
Thank you. We talked about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but I think 2022 is where the television department really kicks into high gear, and it's kind of ridiculous. We get Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, he's getting his own series, supposedly about him training Kate Bishop, who I don't think has been cast yet, but now we're getting the young Hawkeye replacement, so that way all these older actors can retire,
which would be great.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but I really hope, and I'm assuming that this series is going to be based off the comic by Matt Fraction, David Aja, and Javier Pulido, which, if you haven't read it, it is a amazing comic. It's really funny, and the art's great on it. So I won't say much because it's definitely worth a read.
It's worth checking out.
Yeah, we got Miss Marvel. I don't think anything's been said on that. I think Mindy Kaling is attached to write that series. Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Now, I think that this is probably my favorite announcement that's happened in the Marvel sphere for quite some time.
Yeah. No, I like Moon Knight, but I'm not super well versed in Moon Knight, so I'll let you kind of gush about him.
It's the story of lovely Mark Spector.
What a name.
Right, he's this mercenary U.S. military type who kind of gets backstabbed and left for dead in Egypt, and then the spirit of Hansu really just kind of embodies him, and then he goes back with his winnings. I know I'm really butchering this story. But he returns home to New York to kind of avenge himself and go after his mercenary enemies that have left him for dead, while also investing all of his earnings in his treasure hunting and becoming a rich man, and then reinventing himself, and then taking on multiple identities. And I don't know how they're going to successfully do the story, because I've been thinking in my head for the last 10 years, how would I write this story? And then again, I am an amateur writer. I am not professional. And I still have a lot more reading. I hope they don't. There's a certain part in the comics, I guess, later on they did a version called Mr. Knight. He wasn't technically the
Oh, he sounds so nice.
Well, he wore a suit and tie and a white face mask, which everybody should be wearing face masks.
Yep. Wear your masks, people.
And, he wasn't the same kind of badass crime fighter that he was. I would kind of equate him to, in a way, discount Batman, Iron Man, also kind of Night Owl-esque. Just he's this crime fighting guy.
I see he has my favorite thing, which Miss Marvel has, which is we give them all the powers.
There you go. But I mean, like, he also has a character design. Like, his costume could be so incredible looking that I want to see it on screen, and I want them to see it right by him. I want them to do right by him. You know, Mark Spector is technically, like, his character is of Jewish heritage, you know, so
Ooh.
that would be interesting representation right there. You know,
Yeah.
they kind of like put that in. So I don't know. They could kind of work this out a couple different ways. And then apparently he's going to tie into the MCU films. So they haven't cast anyone.
Interesting.
Keanu Reeves, please hear me or don't. I think there was a while there was like a fan base saying like he should be the Moon Knight, but also I don't know about that. You know, guy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if it happens, I do like Keanu, so I'm all for it.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. There's this comic shop, Zach, that I know you're familiar with that we would frequent every now and then.
Sure.
In our kind of mid-ground hometown. And on the wall, they actually have an issue of his first ever appearance in Werewolf by Night. And I think it's on the wall for like a couple $100. It's like near mint condition and everything. Yeah, I've been eyeing it every single time I go in there. I look at it and I'm like, I want that.
One day you got to bite the bullet.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, let's see, the last confirmed project for 2022 is She-Hulk. And again, we haven't really heard much about it. Obviously, She-Hulk is Jennifer Walters, who's a cousin of Bruce Banner.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.
She's an attorney, and she's also green and strong. Again, I think this is another attempt where they go, okay, now we can take away Mark Ruffalo because we have a new Hulk. I do wonder if we're getting to the point. Now, I know She-Hulk is a character with a lot of history, but I feel like, you know, Marvel might get into the problem. They might run into the problem of just being repetitive. Of, okay, well, we have Hawkeye, but we're replacing Hawkeye with a you know, a new female Hawkeye, and we have what was the other one? We have Black Widow, and we're getting a new Black Widow, and now we have a Hulk, and we have a new Hulk. And I would much prefer them coming up with different characters, but also She-Hulk has been around for a while, so there's plenty of room for some pretty good stories. And they cast Tatiana Maslany, I think, in the last couple of days, in the role of Jennifer Walters.
Well, listen, I know we're kind of getting wrapped up into the idea that like some of these characters, like, oh, we're just kind of getting the same characters to do the same things, and so, you know, maybe their arcs might be slightly different, but is that enough to kind of differentiate the characters to say, like, yeah, we're truly doing something new and inventive? No, not necessarily, but, you know, we also have other things to look forward to, like, now that we own the Fox properties, like, or excuse me, the 20th Century and the Searchlight properties, being the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, which I do want to get into. I have...
Yeah, I was going to say, just rapid fire, the other movies they have on stage confirmed: Black Panther 2, which we talked about, Captain Marvel 2, be interested to see where they go with that, Blade, starring Mahershala Ali.
What a great reveal.
That was pretty rad. And then we've known Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was coming out, that's been in talk since Volume 2.
I was going to say, it was supposed to start shooting either like last year, November or something, but then with everything that happened to James Gunn and then him starting the DC movie.
The injustices that befell him.
Yeah.
Now I think, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, we don't really know much. I'm assuming Adam Warlock is going to be playing a big role in that.
I'll tell you what we know. We know James Gunn's back to direct it. He wrote the script like 3 years ago, and it's finished. And as soon as he's done with all the Suicide Squad stuff, it is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 time.
It'll be exciting. And then, again, pretty fresh news we're getting from before any production has even begun for the sequel to Ant-Man and the Wasp, Jonathan Majors of Lovecraft Country has been cast as Kang the Conqueror.
You've been rooting for this for a while.
This is exciting because Kang the Conqueror could be our next Thanos.
So
I don't know if he will be, but he has the potential to be because he is that level of of supervillain. He's from like the year 4000 something, and he's got all this future tech, and he is actually the distant descendant of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
And Doctor Doom. So when they announced King the Conqueror, I said, okay, Fantastic Four is basically a given because you can't have Kang without those characters.
So I want to talk about the Fantastic Four then, because you know what? Like, I think Kevin Feige said at the end of Endgame, or I guess in the middle of last year when Marvel acquired the Fantastic Four, or reacquired them, should I say, under Full House, and they got all the rights and everything they needed.
Right.
He said it would take, about 5 years for them to really incorporate everything. And when you think about it, it's already 2020. By the time they get all the rest of these movies and the whole kind of new slate going out, it'll have been 5 years. And, that'll go by and we'll get the Fantastic Four. Two things. I don't know. I hate fan castings or castings. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Can I predict what you're going to talk about?
You could probably.
Is this about all the things people have been sharing of, like, photoshops of John Krasinski as Reed Richards and Emily Blunt as Sue Storm?
Yes, because you know what? I hate fan castings, but I love that one.
I could see it, and I mean, obviously, it makes sense. They are a real life husband and wife,
and then you also got to think of the fact that John Krasinski said that he's met with Kevin Feige to talk about projects, and you can't help but think, well, if it's this one. Listen, John Krasinski's proven to me as both an actor and as a director and writer that he can handle some bit of a project. And also Emily Blunt is an accomplished actress or actor in her own right. So I mean, why not?
So here's what I say. Typically, whenever there's an actor like that where, their people are fan casting and stuff, and I go, yeah, John Krasinski would be cool, but he's only getting older, and wouldn't you want to find a nice unknown? Kind of like, when they found Chris Hemsworth, he was basically an unknown. And
what are you talking about? He did Cabin in the Woods.
Well, he did Cabin in the Woods. That didn't come out until after Thor.
Wait, did that come out after Thor? Am I getting my years wrong?
It was produced. It was filmed, everything, I think, back in 2008, but it was put on hold, I think, because of the writer's strike or something, and shelved until like 2011, 2012.
You're right.
But I was gonna say, despite all of that, I think John Krasinski would be good because Reed Richards, he's an older dude. If they give him the gray sideburns, I think he can rock it. And I think the challenge that the Fantastic Four movies have struggled is what tone do you take with the movies? Because obviously the silly, campy, fun version from the early 2000s didn't work.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. You know how we talked about guilty pleasure movies a couple weeks ago? I feel like I can watch Fantastic Fours 1 and 2 or one and Rise of Silver Surfer.
Watchable.
I can keep watching them, and I can find enjoyment in watching them.
I'll say certain parts of them are fine. Michael Chiklis as the Thing is pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that is just, it's aged terribly, and it's...
I refuse to watch the newer version, the 2015 version.
Oh, the Josh Trank one? Yeah, that's hot garbage.
Because you know what? I know that the first two are so much better than that one.
I like in Silver Surfer his Teletubby belly where he tells his story.
I actually, that's a lie. I think the best thing that happened out of the Josh Trank ones is the fact that Marvel said, like, oh, we've worked with, this Michael B. Jordan before, and Ryan Coogler and him already had that relationship from their past films, like Fruitvale Station, right? And so they can kind of reincorporate him.
Creed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, right, Creed. I don't know why I forgot about that. But, he was such a good character in Black Panther, and so
Yeah, he's kind of wasted as Johnny Storm.
I just feel
He is the second Johnny Storm to transition over to the MCU.
Yeah.
To critical acclaim.
But I want to go into one more thing kind of before we exit the exit the Fantastic Four, or a couple of things.
Go ahead.
I don't know how familiar you are with some of the comics, or not the comics, excuse me, like the animated shows and things like that came out of this era. X-Men kind of falls in this line, is that they kind of place themselves in like
X-Men or Fantastic Four?
Both of them in a way, right? With the animated series that followed this show, even like kind of later as well, placed themselves in like this fun, interesting like setting time-wise. They were a little bit like in the future. Even the X-Men series, it was like 90s, but there were a lot of very like what the 90s expectation of the future was for some bits, and like the technology available. And now that the fact that the MCU is in, what year is it, like 2023 or 2025 or whatever it is, and it's just kind of continuing along that path, they kind of situated them in their own right, that like they can pull off some of these weird and really cool future ideas that we kind of left off with in the end of Spider-Man, the post-credit scene, that like we are pretty much just going to get the MCU in space and future and technology like from here on out, because why wouldn't we? So these kind of weird 80s visions, 90s visions of the future that we got, like they might actually look really badass like in these coming movies. That's why
you never know. Well, I would say I'm a little I have my reservations, because as we've seen with the most recent Fox X-Men movies, some of the more sci-fi stuff they've done has not gone over well. I'm thinking like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. But you know what? Marvel has handled some outlandish stuff already.
That's what I'm saying.
With elegance. So I think they could probably do it right. I'd be excited to see a Fantastic Four movie, and X-Men again. I think could prove to be really good.
I just feel like kind of going into it, and also in terms of, I know you said that Kang the Conqueror could be your guy, but
he could be. I don't know if he will.
I hate fan theories. I hate these things, and I don't want to go out there saying I have an expectation, because in this one instance I do.
Okay.
But the one, I know we've gotten Doctor Doom a bunch of times, but this is now the time that we can do him like.
I was gonna say, I would love to see
My thought is Doctor Doom is almost the new kind of Loki presence, without the obviously different character entirely, but like he can transcend every fucking movie and like kind of play us in like, and kind of lead us into a really interesting play. He could be a really dynamic character, and then he could lead us into Galactus, the next big MCU villain, and he'll be so gaudy, and it'd be incredible.
Yeah, I think Doctor Doom presents a really cool concept, because I don't think any movie's ever really done him justice. And in the comics, he is extremely interesting. I feel like they've always avoided making him what he is in the comics, which is he's the king of Latveria. And I feel like, the reason why it works in the comics is because people can't accept those things. And I think for some reason, Hollywood has had a hard time wrapping their head around that plenty of people are willing to work with that logic, so you don't need to reinvent the character.
Yeah.
And also I feel like the Marvel movies they're willing to accept some of the sillier aspects of characters, because they know it makes for better quality films, so having a character named Victor Von Doom, and his name is Doctor Doom, his supervillain name, I think, it's campy enough that they could make it work. I know with the Josh Trank movie, they were very embarrassed by a character named Victor Von Doom, so they nicknamed him Victor Domashev, I think. And it's like, there's nothing worse than a movie that's embarrassed by its own characters. The only exception I say to that is the Batman that's coming out, where
I was gonna say, because you said that.
I know they're changing for the better. Well, it's because Victor Von Doom is not a pun. Ed Nigma is a pun, and it's a bad pun, and it's like, oh wow, this guy does riddles, and his name means enigma. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, this character was made in the 40s. I like
his name. His name is great.
Whatever.
And I'm not upset that they've changed it or anything. I'm just saying, like, I don't care if they would have changed it or not. His name was great to begin with.
Anyway, as I'm saying now, keep it Victor Von Doom. I want to see how it turns out. The last thing I think we want to really delve into is what I hope will be titled The Uncanny X-Men.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree.
I think, it would be a great way to separate itself from the Fox movies and give it a new identity. And I have just two notes on the X-Men movies. Number one is, please, for at least one movie, if not two, don't have Wolverine. My favorite of the Fox X-Men movies is First Class, and he is in it for about 10 seconds. And those are a wonderful 10 seconds. But I think that movie proves that you don't have to have Wolverine in them. They could still be totally successful and critically acclaimed and powerful. And Wolverine wasn't even one of the original X-Men. So this is our chance to show the X-Men as they should be. Don't rely on one central character to carry your franchise. And then the other thing is the Magneto problem of it all. Because Magneto, I feel like his character is tied to his existence as a Holocaust survivor. So I do wonder how they present that character, because his villainy is tied directly to his history as a Holocaust survivor.
And kind of going forward, like I said, we are already in the year 2020 something. And
so it's like he would be a very, very old man. He was already an old man in the 90s or the early 2000s when the first X-Men movie came out, when he was played by Ian McKellen. So now we're getting close to, I suppose, in the continuity of those MCU movies that, we're in the mid-2020s at this point. How old is Magneto going to be? And I think the answer lies in House of M, like I said with WandaVision, in that she basically reset the world and turned Magneto into essentially the ruler of the world. And it rewrote a lot of continuity for Marvel.
I don't know if I necessarily want them to kind of backtrack, and they spent all this time. Look, because what's the point of spending all this time the last 10, 11 years doing all these movies if it's inconsequential in the end? Now, in terms of inconsequentiality, right? That's how you say that word, I think.
Sure.
We already kind of got that with some of these newer X-Men films, right? I was talking with to you about New Mutants. Like, regardless of the film, it doesn't matter anymore because they're not going to do another one. They just put it out there because it was in their catalog, and they're like, well, we can't even reshoot the parts we need to reshoot, and it doesn't matter because we're going to reinvent the X-Men in the next 10 years anyways. So whatever, we'll just put this out, and whatever we make will help pay our light bill or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And what sucks too, and I guess I don't want to spoil something necessarily, but like, part of the idea of New Mutants, kind of was incepted, if you will.
How about this? Do you want to just throw up a spoiler warning? And because I don't care, I haven't seen New Mutants, and I don't care. I don't want to see it.
It's really like it's connective tissue.
Hi, welcome to spoilers or screen or whatever we called it.
My name's Chris Kitchen,
and I am Spoiler Strackman.
Oh God, the connective tissue between New Mutants and the other X-Men franchises really starts with the Wolverine, the idea that like this company is out here getting DNA from certain mutants, which then played a role into Logan, and then you see where Lara was from, and she's from this place where they were like kind of giving kids powers, or they're creating clones of mutants that exist, and so that's what they're doing with these kids, right? They played in the film some of the bits from Logan, like the scenes that were on the cell phone that the doctor had taken of like Laura like escaping and shit like that. But I mean, like, you know, that was fine. I guess you're gonna put like a bow on that story, but I think no one really cared about that part. If anything, I really wanted that actress to, if anything, to like play her role as a X-23 or something like that. And I know that was also a stretch. Logan in itself, I think, is one of like the best, if not like top 3 best superhero films ever made. And that goes probably alongside with like The Dark Knight and maybe Infinity War. I know I said Infinity War is one of my favorite Marvel films ever made, and that's like MCU. But like Logan is just incredible in all.
Logan is absolutely wonderful.
And so I didn't need anything to kind of take things from that and position it into their film, just so they can have that connection. So
to that I'll say, to all of this I'll say, the Nolan Batman movies are not canon in the current DCEU, but I can still go back and I can watch those movies and enjoy them for the superior Batman that they are. Yeah, I said it. And that doesn't take away from any potential enjoyment of the future Batman movies that are coming out. So I think, you know, we can still look back on these X-Men, the Fox X-Men movies, and enjoy them for what they are. And then maybe just look forward to what this new Uncanny X-Men, as I'm calling it, could be.
Now, in terms of Uncanny X-Men, there's 2 corrections I do want to be corrected. I want them to be added into the universe, and I don't want them to be, you know, ignored or discarded or anything. One, if you're going to include Rogue, I think there's a meme going around that says, I can't kiss my boyfriend.
Yeah, it's the strong Doge versus Cheems.
Yeah, so
meme. Sorry, I'm letting my my meme lord self out, but yeah, where comic book Rogue is a badass and movie Rogue is sad and depressing.
So give us more of that Rogue. Even in the animated series Rogue, awesome. You know,
here's what's wonderful though about X-Men coming to the MCU is that Captain Marvel exists.
Boom.
And that is the impetus of Rogue's badassery in the comics, is that she stole, back when Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel.
There you go.
She stole her powers. So yes, this is a chance. So that was that one, or did you have another?
I have one more. Jubilee's experience as a mutant, going from the show, can easily be translated into the film, and could...
I think they did have her in one of the films.
Dude, they like put her on the sidelines, and they didn't do anything with her when like she was one of the stars of the show,
of the '90s show.
Yeah, exactly. Like and talk about like trying to be a relatable character in a world full of hate and intolerance for people that are different from you. These are themes that transcend movies and television that will be, you know, relatable throughout time. I cannot emphasize that enough.
I would say nowadays, now as we are getting into a climate of social unrest, I think now more than ever is a great time to have the X-Men come back strong.
Super strong.
Because they've always been an allegory for oppressed peoples the world over. God. And this is the chance for them to really come in and make a really big statement. Just knock our socks off.
You know, I actually did rewatch at least the first half hour of the original X-Men film from, 2000, 2001? And I still think, like, I didn't realize it, I guess, then, but as I rewatched it now, strong opening, I feel like, in terms of setting the worlds that we're living in and just kind of letting everybody know the themes. And to anybody that hadn't ever heard of the X-Men or hadn't read the comics or the shows, like, and they can keep the conversation the same, they really can. They do not need to change much except for, character arcs, and I guess...
And Rogue.
And Rogue, and add, like, Jubilee, please. That is a great point. You don't need the romance between... the triangle between Wolverine and Cyclops and Phoenix
and Famke Jensen.
Oh my God! Like it.
Well,
there are way more important issues that could be used.
They have the benefit of hindsight now. They have the benefit of hindsight. They can look back and say, okay, that didn't work. That worked. Let's do it right.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, I think there's a whole. We could probably spend another 3 hours talking about what we want from Marvel in the future.
Hi, my name is Christopher Kitchen. Welcome to a 3-hour-long Scripter Screen. I'm here with my
Marvels
co-host.
or Screen.
Marvels or Screen.
So, I don't think I have anything else. Marvel, please give us Daredevil back. I don't know why you're doing this. Please, it was the only good Netflix show. But I think that's all I got. What about you?
I think I've said my case. I'm super hopeful, but also I have enjoyed this break, this last year and a half of nothing.
It's a good breather.
I would say so. Like, my wallet saves some money from having to go to the theaters every now and then, and it's just I think a lot of people were a little overwhelmed. But there's a bit of fatigue setting in. Yeah, but it's not to say that these movies aren't enjoyable or fun theme parks to go and watch if you're the type.
Thank you, Martin Scorsese.
But, it is what it is. They'll come out. I have no problems with anything that they've been doing so far, and I think they'll just continue to impress and deliver great products and movies to everybody.
I agree. Okay. I guess that wraps it up then. Thank you to everyone who has listened so far. We appreciate your ears.
And please, if you haven't already, like us on Facebook. Share us on your favorite other social medias like Twitter or Instagram. And visit www.scripterscreen.com for all of our other episodes. And I think, do you have anything you want to plug on this?
I don't... No, not yet. Just, hey, if you have any suggestions, things you want to hear us talk about, leave us comments on our posts on social media. Message us. Do whatever it takes. Find our phone numbers in the phone book. Call us.
Please.
Anytime.
I cannot emphasize. Do not do that. Please
call
don't.
Chris any time of the day. And with that, I think we'll call it a night.
Have a great day. Night, evening, morning, enjoy, and we will see you and listen to you, and you will hear from us next time.
Bye.